The rain fell in heavy sheets, turning the narrow road outside the construction site into a river of mud. Cars splashed through the puddles, workers rushed to finish their tasks, and the entire neighborhood buzzed with the chaotic noise of a growing city. In the middle of it all stood Elena, soaked from head to toe, holding a stack of documents wrapped in a plastic folder. She had just finished negotiating with suppliers. Another exhausting day of trying to save her small architectural startup from collapsing. Every bill, every missed payment, every delay felt like another brick added to the weight already crushing her chest. Then she saw him. A tall man, dressed plainly, wearing a raincoat, pushing a stalled motorcycle out of the mud. His face was partially hidden beneath the hood, but something about the shape of his jawline, the way he moved, the familiarity of his posture, struck her heart like lightning. No, it couldn't be him. Without thinking, she stepped closer. The mud rose around her boots, sucking at her feet, but she didn't care. The rain blurred her vision as she shouted, "Hey, you can't block the road like that!" The man didn't respond. He didn't even look at her. Her frustration erupted. She marched forward, grabbed a bucket filled with muddy water left by workers, and tossed it toward him in anger. The brown water splashed across his clothes. He froze. Slowly, very slowly, he lifted his head, and their eyes met. Her heart stopped. It was him, her ex-husband, Adrian. The man she had divorced 3 years ago. The man who had vanished without explanation. The man who had left her to struggle alone. But now, his eyes were different, hardened, sharper, colder. "Elena," he said in a low voice. "Long time." Her breath caught in her chest. "What are you doing here?" she whispered. He gave a faint, unreadable smile. "Just passing by." But the truth was far deeper, far darker, far more unbelievable. Because the man standing before her was no longer the ordinary, quiet husband she once knew. He was the lost son of one of the wealthiest men in the country, a multi-billionaire whose empire spanned continents, and Elena had just thrown mud on him. 3 years earlier, their marriage had crumbled like a fragile porcelain sculpture dropped from a height. Elena still remembered the night Adrian left, their tiny apartment lit only by the pale glow from the street lamp outside. Their untouched dinner growing cold on the table. His expression, a mixture of guilt and unbearable silence. "I have to go," Adrian said, voice shaking. "Go where, Adrian? What are you talking about?" He didn't answer. He only pressed a sealed envelope into her hand, turned around, and walked out the door without ever looking back. Inside the envelope was divorce paperwork. No explanation. No goodbye. Nothing. Elena spent months drowning in heartbreak. She told herself he had fallen out of love, that he had found someone else, that she had been foolish to ever believe their gentle, quiet romance could last. But the truth was something she never imagined. Adrian had been taken away by a world he never wanted to be part of. A world of extreme wealth, ruthless power, and a family that had spent years searching for him. He left her not because he didn't love her, but because he wanted to protect her. His family was dangerous, their enemies even more so, and he didn't want her dragged into their battles. But Elena had never known any of this. All she saw was a man who abandoned her without reason. So she built walls around her heart. She hardened herself. She rose from the ashes alone, until now. Until he suddenly appeared in front of her again, soaked in mud, as if the universe wanted to reopen every wound she had worked so hard to close. The rain continued pouring, but the world around them went silent. Adrian wiped the mud from his cheeks with a calmness that irritated her even more. "You always had terrible aim," he murmured. Her cheeks flared with anger. "You disappeared for 3 years, and the first thing you say is a joke?" His gaze softened just a fraction. "Elena, I never meant to hurt. Don't you dare," she snapped. "You lost the right to explain anything the moment you walked away." She turned to leave, but Adrian grabbed her wrist gently. Not forcefully, not possessively, but with the same delicate touch she remembered from their marriage. A touch that tore down all her defenses at once. "Elena," he said, voice trembling very slightly. I came back for a reason. She pulled, her hand free, and I don't care. She meant the words, but her eyes betrayed her. Because deep down, beneath the layers of anger and heartbreak, there was still a part of her that wondered, why did he leave? Why come back now? What had happened to him? Adrian watched her walk away, the rain washing, the mud from his face. She still hates me, he whispered to himself. A black luxury car rolled up beside him. The driver stepped out, bowed respectfully, and opened the door. Sir, your father is waiting. Adrian glanced one last time at Elena's retreating figure. I know, he said quietly, but so is my past. He entered the car, unaware that Elena stood hidden behind a pillar, trembling, because she had heard everything. Sir? Your father. Her mind spun. What father? What family? What was Adrian hiding? That night, Elena couldn't sleep. She walked circles in her apartment, rehearsing every memory, every moment of their marriage, every detail she had ignored. He wasn't wealthy when they married. He lived simply. He had no luxury cars, no expensive watches, no signs of coming from money. So who was this father waiting for him? And why did Adrian have a personal driver? She needed answers, and she needed them now. The next morning, determined, she visited the cafe where they used to spend Sunday mornings together, the same place where she had once taken refuge after their divorce. Her fingers trembled as she stirred her coffee. Then she heard familiar footsteps. He sat across from her without asking for permission. You're early, Adrian said. How? Did you know I'd come here? He gave the slightest smile. You always return to familiar places when you're confused. She hated that he still knew her so well. Tell me the truth, she said firmly. Who are you, Adrian? His smile faded. He leaned back, exhaled, and stared out the window. My real name is Adrian Pierce. She froze. Pierce. As in the Pierce conglomerate, one of the most powerful families in the country, a dynasty worth billions. You're joking, she whispered. I wish I were, he said softly. I ran away from that world years ago, but when they found me, I had no choice but to go back. Why didn't you tell me? Why leave me without a word? His voice cracked. Because my family destroys everything it touches. I didn't want that life to swallow you. Her eyes burned, not with anger, but with heartbreak. Adrian, you didn't protect me. You broke me. He lowered his head. I know. Silence thickened between them. Then Adrian reached into his pocket and placed a sealed letter on the table. What's this? My father's invitation, he said. For you. Her heart stopped. Why would he invite me? Because, Adrian said quietly, he knows who you are to me. She swallowed hard. What am I to you? His voice was barely a whisper. Everything I lost. Elena arrived at the Pierce mansion 2 days later. A place so massive it could have been a small kingdom. Gates taller than buildings, gardens stretching beyond sight, a staff of dozens rushing around with precision. As she entered, every pair of eyes turned to her. Whispers followed her like shadows. Is that her? The ex-wife. She looks so ordinary. Why would the young master care about someone like that? Her chest tightened. But she walked forward with her. Head held high, Adrian met her at the entrance, wearing a black suit that made him look like the heir he had never wanted to be. His expression softened when he saw her. You came, he said. I need answers, she replied. Together, they entered the grand hall. At the end of the long table sat the patriarch, a man with silver hair, piercing eyes, and a presence that dominated the room. He studied Elena carefully, then said in a deep voice, So, you are the woman my son abandoned. Elena stiffened, but Adrian stepped between them. Father, don't. She deserves to hear the truth, the patriarch said. Your disappearance nearly destroyed this family. And now that you've returned, the world is watching. The patriarch turned his gaze to Elena. You were part of his past. But the question is, will you be part of his future? Elena swallowed. I don't know, she admitted honestly. He broke my heart. The old man nodded slowly. And yet, you came. Adrian took a step closer to her. Elena, I don't expect forgiveness. I just want a chance to make things right. The patriarch leaned forward. Then prepare yourselves, because the enemies who hunted him will now come for you both. Elena's blood ran cold. Adrian's hand found hers instinctively. Their worlds, once separated by fate and secrets, were colliding again, and this time, neither of them could walk away. Not without losing everything.